I've never been involved in any organization. This is something I took it upon myself to do. I'm an American. I love America, and my whole goal is to help prevent a Fourth Reich or a New World Order from being created in America. And it started back in 1945. And
right.
I want to bring these Nazis to justice. I mean, they killed millions of innocent Jews, and they're still alive. And the American taxpayers are paying our government to hide them. And that's not right.
No, correct. And, I mean, did he tell you about any others that are still alive or were here, some big names we may know?
Oh, I have information on at least 5 of them that are wanted SS Nazi war criminals, including Dr. Joseph Mengele, who the CIA claims drowned. That's total crap. Alu Brunner is still alive. Reinhard Gehlen, Walter Ralph, and Martin Bormann are still alive.
All right. Now, Bush comes over, takes this identity, according to Skorzeny, of Prescott Bush, and the New World Order is moving along. Now, tell us a little bit about this interesting information regarding Chester, and I can't pronounce his last name. It's a long Polish name, much more difficult than mine.
Yes.
What his comments were to the New York Post and other things regarding Bush's activities in the military when he supposedly became a war hero, but actually, according to this gentleman, abandoned his crew. Tell us about this story. That's interesting.
Chester Majersky was an old squadron buddy of Bush's who was flying right alongside Bush, and he blames George Herbert Walker Bush for the abandonment and death of both of his crew members. He claims that George Bush's plane was the only plane that didn't make it back that day, and they were not under fire, according to Majersky. He claims he saw Bush slide his cockpit open and bail out while his radio man and tail gunner were stuck in there, and they went down with the plane, and they both drowned. They both died. And this was done for George Bush to establish a false reputation for being a World War II hero.
Yeah, and this was also, let me see, this was also in the New York Post, correct?
Yes.
And Majersky was awarded, he was a very well-decorated military man, correct? Received the Distinguished Flying Cross?
Yes.
And this is quite interesting. Geez, I didn't realize this. So Bush, this was set up to make Bush a war hero, correct?
Yes, like I mentioned before, Prescott Bush, was a Nazi sympathizer, and he had lots of higher-ups in the Navy that were paid off that were Nazi sympathizers to go along with anything to help George Bush progress.
Right. So then this story, Bush must have had to deal with it because it came out in the Post. Did he ever comment on this?
Not that I'm aware of, no. He denies it. George Bush, of course, denies it and says he's a hero. He claims he got shot down. That's total crap.
Okay, and that's putting it bluntly. Why don't you tell us some of the other major points of this book that I may have missed, some of the things that you wanted to tell our listeners. Go ahead, Eric.
Basically, the government has been lying to the American public about the identities and whereabouts of wanted SS Nazi war criminal terrorists who are still, in fact, alive today. They are retired CIA agents, which means that they are protected by the government. And President Bush, a year or so ago, signed into law a law that allows the CIA to hide its Nazis, basically, allows them to hide its files on its different Nazis for 2 full years. He's doing this to protect the Nazis because they're still alive. Right? According to Otto Skorzeny, he and some of his retired SS Nazi CIA spook buddies were also the brains behind the Brotherhood of Aryan Nations organized crime hate gang, and allegedly those are the ones who were responsible for mailing the deadly anthrax spores in 2001. A couple other things Skorzeny told me about and gave me photos. According to him, they have a secret New World Order / CIA base, similar to an Area 51 base, located in Montana in Glacier National Park, where they hide the real HARP technology, the High Altitude Auroral Research Project, where they can manipulate the weather, allegedly, and do other mind-altering experiments to the public. Skorzeny gave me photos of a Donuts on a Rope vapor contrail put out by the rumored Aurora spy plane that the government denies exists. The plane is the successor to the SR-71 Blackbird, and it allegedly goes over Mach 6+, and it has, in addition to being stealth, it has an optically stealth capability, which means that it puts out the illusion of optical invisibility, like a heat mirage. You can't actually see it with your naked eye. I guess that's about it, other than murdering Nikola Tesla. Oh, you mentioned also about JFK. Oswald, was definitely a patsy. He claims that George Herbert Walker Bush was the badge man on the grassy knoll. Standing next to him, Skorzeny claims he was dressed as a military man. Reinhard Gehlen was allegedly the tower shooter where Oswald was supposed to be. And he also alleged that Mengele was in the sewer. All right, and I have photos on my website, and there's also photos in the Kennedy book you can see of Oswald and various other Nazis who are really CIA employees. The only other thing I can think... I'm sorry, one more thing. He mentioned he had something to do with Hoover's death, J. Edgar Hoover. Hoover did not die of natural causes.
You know, one of the things that I found interesting here are all these pictures that he gave you. How many were there altogether? You know?
Probably 100, I would think. It was 60
now
years.
You have them in a safe place?
They're in a safe deposit box in a bank, wrapped in plastic.
Okay.
Safe as they're going to get, I guess.
Now, what about any kind of harassment recently? I know you're trying to get this book published. Tell us about that. What's happening recently? Has it kind of died down, or are they still watching you?
Occasionally I receive email viruses. The most recent one was someone claiming to be an FBI agent named Stephen Allison, claiming that my IP address was logged into 30 different illegal websites. Then it says to check this attachment for a survey, and it was a sober worm virus they were sending.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone was harassing me. Whether it was just me or the general public, I don't know.
Do you have a website where all your information's at?
Oh, I sure do. It's www.thebushconnection.com.
Now, say that again.
TheBush, connection.com.
Let me see if I can squeeze. You want to take a call right now?
Sure.
Okay,
I don't know. Russ in Alabama, you're on the Investigative Journal.
Okay, I'd like to just make about 5 quick points.
I want to mention one thing, Russ. We have a minute here, and then we'll get to you after the break, so go ahead.
Right, well, especially if you've got a pen there, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, there is this is of international and historical interest. First of all, you need a judge, and I don't know who needs to bring this forth in a way that won't be quashed, but to put some protection and an exhumation order on that grave of Mr. Coates, depending on what's actually in that grave, for DNA testing. Number 2, there are Israeli journalists that are good at exposing skullduggery of the actual Illuminists that are above that government, which have ties back to the Nazis. For example, you might look up such people as Barry Comish, because there are some people who will take up this cause who are Jews, as you can imagine. Also, there's a DVD out that I think the name of it is JFK, RFK, and MLK, The Bush Connection. And through circumstantial evidence, he pieces together a fantastic expose on George H.W. Bush. So it might correlate well with your information. And let's see, I had one more point. Is it time for the break yet?
No, go ahead. You'll hear the music. Yeah, it is time. Okay. We'll get you think of that last point, Russ. We'll get back to you. Get back to Eric Orion for our final segment on the Investigative Journal. Okay, back for our final segment on the Investigative Journal. Get right back to the phones. Russ, you had one more point you wanted to make?
Impeachment. There is an active, aggressive move to impeach Bush and Cheney, and that has recently been, I believe, put forth in a 300-page book form by Senator Conyers. But one, so this might be the coup de grace for the impeachment movement, but also one of the greatest sources of information exposing the ties between the Nazi Party and the current fascist regime known as the neocons, who have taken over the Republican regime, is the LaRouche organization. And they have this thing mapped out in great detail. And you can go to LaRouche PAC, a PAC, like politicalactioncommittee.com, and there at the bottom of the left-hand page all the way down, it says, send Lyndon LaRouche a message. And, just put him an attachment to your document there. It would really fill in some gaps.
Did you hear that, Eric?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Thank you very much, listeners.
Okay, thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
We got a couple of minutes here, Eric. I wanted to mention, you got a picture in here of the Glacier National Park and this CIA tunnel and underground base. What did Skorzeny tell you about this?
A couple of things. He said the top of the mountain actually slides off, and there's a giant Tesla laser in there, all right, that allows them to secretly launch aircraft or satellites into outer space without the general public knowing about it. All right. Also, he claims that right after World War II, they moved the stolen Holocaust loot to America via the gold train, the rumored gold train, and they took it to this hollowed-out mountain base, and that's where it's sitting today. He also claims they have other Area 51-type aircraft, like black projects, such as like the stealth aircraft and various other aircraft like that.
You know what I'm interested in? What did he say in general that these New World Order people wanted to do with this country? And was he ever specific about timing or anything about what period we're in right now?
Well, according to what he was saying, after 2004 is when they're really going to turn up the heat to try to create a New World Order or Fourth Reich in America. And it seems like George Bush is really trying to do that, with his appointments to the Supreme Court. The neocon conservatives, they want to overturn established law.
Yeah, I mean, in every angle, they're trying to take over so that they could just bypass our laws, bypass anything, and have the will of the land. Just to add one thing, and then I'll say goodbye in a minute here. But one thing that Russ was saying about impeachment, I don't really know if if they really care. I mean, the way they have all three branches of the government wrapped up, because recently a Zogby poll stated that 85% of the American people think Bush should be impeached. I don't think he would care if 100% thought that. It still wouldn't get done. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it'll probably never happen as long as we have a Republican-controlled Senate and Congress. Hopefully this year some of the Republicans will get defeated by Democrats. The Democrats might get a majority, and then they might have an opportunity to impeach him.
Okay, Eric, we're all out of time. Good luck in trying to get your book published. We'll talk again. That was Eric Orion. He wrote a book called The Bush Connection. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, on the Investigative Journal.